Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, Moby.
Am I interrupting you? Because it looks like...
Busy. No, I'm just doing some last minute preparation.
Okay. So can I talk about what we want to talk about? Can I give a sort of table of contents about what we're going to talk about today?
Yeah, let's get it popping.
Well, first off, we're going to be taking a little bit of a break. A Moby pod break. So for about 3 or 4 weeks, there won't be any new episodes. And at some point very soon, we're going to talk about why we're taking a little break and all the exciting stuff that will come after the break.
Yeah, and I know you might be raising your fists to the skies and asking God why we would take a break. Mm-hmm. But I think when you find out why, you'll be like, okay, I like it.
And also, what's going to happen after the break hopefully will be really fun.
Well, that's what I'm hoping.
So that's one thing we're going to talk about. We're also going to play our favorite game of Complete the Lyric. Like, ooh. You say a lyric line from a song that I don't know, and I imagine what the next line would be. And then in turn, I say a line from a song, and you guess what the next lyric would be.
Boy, do I love this game.
And then we're also... We're going to enter the world of politics a little bit.
But gently.
Gently. And
we don't even have to say which side we're on, even though I think if it's not obvious.
And we're going to talk about this remarkable phenomena of some of the people who've said the most scathing things about the Republican candidate for president.
And then we're going to guess who said them.
Yeah, we're going to guess who said them. So like some of the most scathing things that have been said about the former reality TV star who is the Republican nominee for president and convicted felon. Some of the most scathing stuff has been said by people who now kiss his butt and love it, like the Republicans, including perhaps his own vice presidential nominee.
Uh-oh.
So that's a fun thing.
Awkward.
And I'm going to get my computer out because I've got a long list of other fun things that we can talk about.
There's also, can I say a few of them?
Sure, please. Why not?
Break. So we're going to do a lot of announcements. Sorry, Jonathan, you cut that out. That was kind of weird. Now, one of the things that you've discussed that you want to do is poem finding.
At some point, maybe.
Do you want to do that?
We could.
What is poem finding, would you say?
It sounds either really sweet and gentle or kind of stupid, depends who you ask.
Sometimes you can be both.
We find a poem that we like and we read it.
That is so effing cute.
Really?
Yes, I want to do that.
Okay, then
Are you kidding me? We're gonna each find a poem and then we're gonna read it to each other.
I feel like I'm in kindergarten.
But I can't look you in the eyes when I read a poem though, so I'm gonna just look at Bagel, okay?
Okay. It really feels like kindergarten. And then we're going to take out our safety scissors and our juice boxes and do arts and crafts. And then we take out our mats and we have a little nap.
All of that sounds amazing to me, actually. I wish I had appreciated it more then.
Can I tell you a kindergarten story?
Yes. Is it dark?
Not in the slightest.
Okay, what is it?
So a while ago, I was asked to be a guest actor on the show Blunt Talk with Patrick Stewart.
A wonderful show. And
I had a scene where I played a kindergarten music teacher.
In your panties?
No, I was in my panties in other scenes. But in this scene, I was wearing actual clothes, and we shot in an actual kindergarten. First of all, it was very interesting as a non-actor acting with Patrick Stewart, who's one of the greatest actors of
all time.
Of all time. But before we shot, I was walking around the kindergarten, and I realized basically the best life advice anyone gets is in kindergarten. Because they had all these posters and all these things. It said use your words, not your fists. Words can't hurt me. Remember to take a nap. I learned valuable lessons walking around this kindergarten. And what else do we want to do today? Oh, I had an idea. One of the bigger things I want to get to is the tour that I'm doing in September. I'm giving the money to charity. And
so cool.
We're going to announce here and now, right here on the Moby pod, what charities are going to be receiving the money from the tour.
Ooh, I cannot wait to talk about these charities. I think they're all so fantastic. And it's amazing that we can they can be part of our conversation today, but like also leading up to the tour and during it and afterwards. I think it's very cool.
So, and if that's not enough, we also might talk about best ways of dealing with stress.
You know, I'm going to push for that one.
Okay.
Because I feel like I really need it for multiple reasons. A, because of some of the things that we're going to be talking about that you and I are both doing, but also just because of the state of the world. Everyone I talk to that lives internationally, Canada, UK, France, wherever, they're all like, are you okay? Like the world is worried about us.
As they should be.
The world is worried about themselves. And even my Canadian friend that I spoke to today, who's in Canada, was like, I was like, can I have some citizenship, please? And she was like, no, we're too close to the US. You have to get far away.
Yeah, a friend of mine who lives in Whistler, which is north of Vancouver, I asked him if he and his wife would adopt me. He's like, it might be a little weird because we're younger than you. But I was like, it doesn't
Whatever
matter.
works.
Or foster me or anything. I'll sleep in the basement.
Yeah.
Just throw me some oats and quinoa every now and then.
Yeah.
Like the little horse that I am.
Aw. But anyway, so yes, I do want to talk about stress reduction because it's really hard and we all have our busy lives and it's really challenging to do the work to take care of our delicate little noggins. So talking about that would be smart, I think.
And so, okay, so quick recap. So political quotes about the Republican nominee from his supposed allies.
Gonna do it.
Why we're going to take a break and what we're working on.
Can't wait.
Dealing with stress. We're each going to find a poem that we like and read it. Announcing the charities who are going to receive the money from the tour. Complete the lyric. And possibly some other things.
And then little dance party, an audio dance party.
Are we going to have a dance party?
Yeah. Chicken wing. So people can see the dance I'm doing in their mind's eye.
Okay. As vegans and animal rights activists, are we allowed to do the chicken wing?
Yeah, because it's happy chickens.
Because they're happy
do it.
chickens. Okay, yeah. That's right. Okay, so we're not in any way harming chickens by doing
No, I would say we're supporting chickens by doing the chicken dance.
Which one, so of all the stuff we want to do, can we start with complete the lyric?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I prepared a couple of good ones.
Oh, okay. I only have one, but bring it. You start.
Okay, so here's...
You seem really excited.
Yeah, I
that
really
which makes
like
me
this
so
one
scared.
because it's going to surprise you. They're both very surprising.
Okay.
Okay. It's a song called No More Heroes.
Unfamiliar.
Kind of a new wave hit from the early 80s.
Who's the band?
The band was the Stranglers. One of my favorite bands, one of the most complicated bands in music history.
Complicated emotionally or complicated musically?
Musically. I mean, they started off as sort of a punk rock band, but then they wrote some of the most delicate ballads you've ever heard. You know, like really fascinating, very intellectual as well. And so here's the first two lines, and then I'll ask you what you think the next two lines might be.
Okay.
Okay. Whatever happened to Leon Trotsky?
And then I have to say the next two lines?
Yeah, what you think the next two lines might be.
He was a good guy, but also that's the name of my horse.
First off, did you actually have a horse named Leon Trotsky?
No, but it sounds like a really good name for a horse.
Trotting.
Like Trotsky.
Okay. So you want to hear the actual next lines?
Yes.
Okay, so whatever happened to Leon Trotsky, he got an ice pick that made his ears burn. Because Leon Trotsky was one of the architects of the Soviet Revolution with Lenin. And he and Lenin really were like they led the Soviet Revolution. He was Lenin's right-hand man. And then when Stalin became the head of the Soviet Union, Trotsky spoke out against Stalin and he was banished. And he moved to Mexico, and Stalin sent assassins multiple times to try and kill him, and eventually they succeeded by pushing an ice pick through his ears.
Oh, poor Trotsky.
Poor Trotsky. But the reason I bring this up is because, one, we've talked about the state of popular music. Can you imagine any because this was like a top 10 song. about Leon Trotsky getting an ice pick pushed in his ear. And I was just trying to imagine pop music today referencing Leon Trotsky and him being in exile and being killed by an assassin from Joseph Stalin.
Yeah, no, I think that I can't see it happening. But maybe there's some amazing pop star that I just don't know about that's talking about
Leon Trotsky.
Yeah, like Soviet assassinations.
But the other thing that was so interesting about pop music back then, it was sort of educational. Like when I was 14 years old and I heard this song, I was like, I don't know who Leon Trotsky is, but they're the Stranglers. They're cool UK musicians. So I went to the library and I researched Leon Trotsky and learned all about it. Otherwise, I was like, I don't know what they're talking about, but they're cool, so I want to know what they're talking about.
And now you know so much about world history.
So that's
even the dirty, scary parts, like the ice picks through the years.
So that's my lyric. Give me one.
Okay. So there's a song that I really like that's incredibly popular right now, by a musician named Chappell Roan, who everyone is losing their mind over. She's incredibly popular. But she has a song that is often misinterpreted. And I really enjoy the song, even though it is about... Well, also, I'll read you the lyrics and then you tell me how you think it might end, and then I'll tell you why I like this song, okay?
Great.
Okay. So here's a lyric that I would like for you to finish. You can kiss 100 boys in bars, shoot another shot. End of that sentence.
You can kiss 100 boys in bars, shoot another shot, but it won't affect the albedo effect, which is one of the feedback loops making climate change worse.
No. No. It's try to stop the feeling. This is all about the singer is in love with someone who won't admit that she's gay. So she's trying to go out and meet boys and all of this stuff to prove that she's not gay, but she's in love with our singer. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, that's sort of interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's very complex and the music is great. And a lot of people use it thinking like, oh, it's cute, it's about kissing. But really it's about a closet case.
Okay, that's nice.
That's nice.
Can I do my second lyric that is just the result of Spotify Shuffle?
Yeah,
so this song came up on my Spotify, and it's one of my favorite songs, and it has a lyric that somehow seems especially relevant today.
Okay.
All over, people are changing their votes along with their overcoats. What are the next two lines?
All over, people are changing their votes along with their overcoats. And also their socks because they stepped in a puddle.
That is a really good. Yeah, yours is equally good. But here's the actual line.
Okay.
All over, people are changing their votes along with their overcoats. If Adolf Hitler flew in today, they'd send a limousine anyway.
Yeah, I would not have just come out with Hitler.
The
like
point
that.
being, it's from The Clash, White Man and Hammersmith Palais. The idea is people have the only principle guiding culture is fame and power and wealth. You know, this idea, sort of like the way that people have covered politics, you know, like pretending that Hillary and Trump were somehow ethically equal.
Right.
Pretending that Trump is not a malignant sociopath because they're like, oh, well, people pay attention to the articles that we write about him. Mm-hmm. And so like trying to normalize horror.
Yeah, horror as a business model.
Yeah, because horror drives clicks and horror is clickbait.
Yeah, if you scare people, they want to know what they should be on the lookout for. It's like if you say that there's a serial killer in your neighborhood, you probably want to stay on top of that one.
So it's just realizing that, you know, especially now, like I feel at one point the media might have had higher standards, might have not been inclined to create these false equivalencies between, say, Trump and Hillary or Trump and Biden. But that line, if Adolf Hitler flew in today, they'd send a limousine anyway, really struck me because it just seems like there's this weird self-interested principle. Like people are not, I mean, obviously there's some really good people in the world of media and politics who are trying to be responsible, who are trying to do the right thing. But then you have like the New York Times writing these glowing pieces about the Republican National Convention.
I mean, it's all over every single network, regardless of who they are. They're all covering it as if it's real news, when really it's just a bunch of like Handmaid's Tale horror show sadists who are trying to make our country into some sort of evangelical hellscape.
So that's why I picked that lyric. While we're talking about politics, should we move on to Trump quotes as said by his allies?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, do you have fun ones? Do you want to start?
I've got some little cuties.
Okay, here.
Yeah, they're cute. So this person said that Trump is a consummate narcissist who constantly engages in reckless conduct that puts his political followers at risk and the conservative and Republican agenda at risk. You want to know who said that?
Okay, I have a similar quote, but I'm wondering, okay, who said that?
Bill Barr.
Oh, okay, his former attorney general.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one. So I'm just going to start with my biggies.
Yeah, go for it.
So who said these following things? My God, Trump is such a noxious idiot. He could be America's Hitler, and Mr. Trump is categorically unfit to be America's president.
Well, I know this one.
Okay.
Jance Dance Vance.
J.D. Vance said, just to repeat, my God, Trump is such a noxious idiot. He could be America's Hitler, and Mr. Trump is unfit to be America's leader and president. That's J.D. Vance, who is Trump's vice presidential nominee.
Can I do one to follow that? It's so fun. I love it so much. Here's one. This person, this person wrote on Twitter, Trump makes people I care about afraid. Immigrants, Muslims, etc. Because of this, I find him reprehensible. God wants better of us.
Okay, who said that?
Jance Dance Vance.
J.D. Vance said that as well?
On Twitter.
Wow. And he's Trump's vice presidential nominee.
I know.
But
yeah.
How does anyone wrap their head around that? I was also reading about J.D. Vance. He's now incredibly anti-trans. His best friend at Yale is a trans woman, and when his best friend, who is now a trans woman, went through surgery, he was by her side, supporting her, bringing her meals in bed. And now he's aggressively like, who is this guy, and does he have any principles? Giving some
sort of like Stepford robot brain lobotomy situation. Do you want some more though?
Well, you just did one. Can I do one?
Oh yeah, I forgot. Go.
Okay, so someone who has been by Trump's side pretty much during his presidency and afterwards, stalwart Trump supporter, said these things. Trump is such a racist bigot. I believe that the Republican Party and America are being completely conned.
Stephen Miller?
Lindsey Graham. Yeah.
Lady G,
Lindsey Graham, Senator Lindsey Graham said he's a racist bigot and the Republican Party in America are being conned.
Mamma mia.
Yeah. Okay, give me one.
Okay. Donald Trump is a delusional narcissist and an orange-faced windbag. A speck of dirt is way more qualified to be president.
Whoa, that's a good one. Who's that?
Know. Rand Paul.
Okay, wow, yours are better than mine, but okay, they're all good. It's not a competition. Okay, here's a simple one from a Republican who was potentially going to be Trump's vice presidential nominee. Trump is absolutely the most vulgar person to ever aspire to the presidency. Marco Rubio.
Yep, that does check out. That does fully check out.
Okay, we'll do a couple more because I could do these all day, but I feel like some of our audience listeners might not enjoy these as much as we are. So let's do two more.
Okay.
Or maybe do you want to end with it because yours are better than mine?
No. I have one that I'm actually really excited about.
Great.
So it's a little long, but I think it's good. This person said, many of the same politicians who now publicly embrace Trump privately dread him. They know what a disaster he's been and will continue to be for our party. They're just too afraid to say it out loud. Well, I'm not afraid to say the hard truths out loud. I feel no need to kiss the ring.
Who's that?
Nikki Haley, who recently just kissed the ring at the RNC.
Wow. I feel no need to kiss the ring. And she just kissed, how, what happened?
She also called him unstable and unhinged on multiple occasions.
What has happened to these people? I mean, I don't think Republicans generally have principles, but how do you say, my God, he's such a noxious idiot, he could be America's Hitler, Mr. Trump is unfit to be president, and then be his vice presidential nominee and stand with him on stage?
Yeah.
I don't know how to make sense of any of that. So maybe...
But also, I just want to say something really fun.
What?
One time somebody called him a barking carnival act.
Who said that?
Rick Perry.
Good old Texan Dancing with the Stars, Rick Perry.
Yep.
Okay, so why don't we talk about why we're going to go on a break?
Let's talk about the break.
Okay. Do you want me to talk about the break?
Well, yeah, I do.
Okay, so as mentioned, when we had our conversation with Mark Webber, we're making a scripted movie about the animal rights community, with actors.
With actors,
we have people.
Yeah, with real people. We have a whole team of people at an office right now, toiling and gathering and prepping and rehearsing, and it's been such a wild ride.
And we are just now beginning filming. So for the next about month or so, 3 weeks or so, we are going all over the place.
All over LA.
Well, Southern California.
Yeah.
And all over, I mean, I'm regional and provincial, so all over the place, meaning Southern California. And big, long, complicated days of filming with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people involved. And so that's why for the next 3 to 4 weeks, we can't be making the podcast because we're going to be in dusty fields or in basements or in weird lofts or all over, farms all over the place making this movie. The movie, again, is called Tecie. And we will have updates on it once we come back from our break. What else do you want to say?
Oh, I just want to say our dear friend Mark Webber, who was on the podcast a few episodes ago, who's directing and producing this with us, has been so fantastic. We have some amazing actors. We have Mina Massoud, who played Aladdin in the live-action Aladdin, who is also an incredibly outspoken vegan activist. He's going to play our lead. He's going to play Tecie. And then we have Sarah Jeffrey, an incredible actress and activist, who's going to be playing our female lead in the movie. So the cast is stellar, and the team is unbelievable. And I can't wait to share what we make with you. And then we'll definitely update you after we finish shooting and while we're in post, just to let you know how that's all going.
So that's why for the next 3 weeks, we'll be on a hiatus because we'll be in the desert and elsewhere trying to make this movie as good as it can be. Maybe that's a good segue to announce the charities who are going to get the money. Am I just jumping all over the place? Why am I so filled?
No, this feels right because it also leads into why we're taking a bit of a break, because while we're doing this movie, Moby is also prepping to go on tour in September. So it's going to be kind of one right to the other.
And you asked me a question beforehand.
Yeah.
Can I repeat your question?
I can also ask you the question.
Sure. Do you want to ask me the question?
Well, I was asking about touring. And what do you do to prep on tour? Is it just picking out outfits, or what are you doing? Trying to find your nicest, shiniest shoes,
and
or how does that go?
Choreography and costume changes and special guests. So tour, because I've toured so many times, and for better or worse, my tour prep doesn't involve costumes. Should it? I mean, it would be ridiculous as a middle-aged guy on stage. If I had costume changes, like what, I'm going to put on like a different pair of jeans?
Well, I've been going to suggest that like
I wear like Donald Duck costume on stage.
Well, no, because that would cover your face. We need to see it, and it would also impede your ability to play your instruments. But I think we need more like sparkly stuff on you. Like we could take what you're wearing right now and just bedazzle it. Rhinestones.
In the interest of respecting you as my closest friend and coworker, I'm going to pretend to consider what you've said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just, I'll just start bedazzling stuff. Just send me a thing and I'll bedazzle it.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I will absolutely 100% pretend to think about that.
Okay, well, I'm going to force it upon you in many, many moments when you least expect it. But wait, there is a real question here, though, of like what it takes. Do you have to do rehearsals? Do you have to...
So because I haven't toured in 10 years, a big part of tour prep, first part is figuring out, okay, what music should I play? And my approach to playing music, to touring, is to try and put on stage what I would want to see if I was in the audience. So the tour coming up, it's a greatest hits tour. It's loud, tons of production, lights, visuals. Like it's a big, celebratory, crazy, over-the-top greatest hits tour.
So you're saying you wouldn't want to see a show with contortionists?
Probably... I probably would not bring contortionists. Okay. I would like to go to someone else's show that involved contortionists, but my show, no, will not involve contortionists.
Yeah, no, that's your call.
So that's the first part, is what music to play. Mm-hmm. And it's basically play the songs that people want to hear. And
One time we were at a concert and you go, be merciful, play the hits.
I like hits. I went to see Paul McCartney, and like when he played Beatles songs and Wings songs, it was amazing. But then he'd play like an obscure new song, and I'm like, okay, still Paul McCartney. It's good, but it's not Let It Be. It's not Live and Let Die. It's not Band on the Run. Like you have hits, play the hits. So that's the first part. The second part, who do I go on tour with? That's
like an opening act?
No, like actual musicians on stage.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was what I've been working on, is figuring out who can come on tour, because a lot of my songs involve singing, especially female singing. And I am not a female singing person. So we have Chocolate and our friend Nadia and Julie Mintz coming on tour.
Nadia Duggan.
To play keyboards, but also to sing, to do background vocals, to do lead vocals. And that's exciting.
That's so exciting. I mean, those three people are very fun and fantastic people.
And then drums. You need drums. So we've hired our friend Trip Beam, to play drums.
And Trip has toured with you multiple times, as has Julie.
Yep. And then on bass, Jonathan Nesvadba, who's currently editing this podcast.
Thanks, Jonathan, for doing literally everything.
Yeah, going to be playing bass. So that's the next part. And I'll try and speed through this. It's hiring the musicians. And then it's figuring out, because I haven't played these songs in a long time. It might sound super basic. I have to remember how to play them. Mm-hmm. Some of them are pretty simple, but some of them are actually kind of complicated. And I don't remember the chords.
Oh, gosh. Do you have little notes up there on the stage with you to remind you about chords?
By the time we're performing, I've rehearsed enough, so I don't need notes. Like, I don't need a music stand.
Do you ever get worried, like actors do, that they're going to forget? Like, you know, the actor's nightmare where you go on stage and you're naked and you don't know your lines?
I mean, some of the songs, I forget the lyrics. Like the song Extreme Ways, I always screw up the lyrics. Because there are a lot of words there and I don't remember them so good. So
yeah, remembering's hard.
And then because some of the music is very electronic, I then have to sort of figure out the electronic aspect of the song, which is like, are there going to be samples? Are there going to be drum machine parts? And I have to program all that. And then once that's been done, I send my rough backing tracks to all the musicians and everyone. They live with it. Then we start rehearsing. And then we all go to Europe and do more rehearsing. And then we start playing the concerts.
Okay, here's a question about international touring. Do you feel the need to learn the language of all the places you're going? Like, hello, this is a German hello.
Well, I can say there's one thing I can say in a lot of different languages.
What's that?
In German, it'd be Ich bin ein Veganer.
I'm a vegan.
I haven't said it in a while, but in French, I think it's Je suis un végétalien.
Mm-hmm.
Spanish, yo soy vegano. Scottish, I'm a vegan. So
that was so good.
Oh, I don't want to do that again. So and then I can say merci, danke. I mean, also certain countries like the Netherlands or Belgium, like they're more fluent in English than I am oftentimes. But I do feel guilty on stage speaking in English in a place where people, for the most part, don't understand English. But then I'm an ignorant American. I don't know how to speak.
Do you address it when you're on stage? Do you say,
I throw myself under the bus constantly.
Hi, I'm sorry I speak English, but this is the language I know, and I'm sorry this is what happens in America because our public education system failed?
Yeah, and sometimes I'll say it in Spanish, like, excúsame porque soy un gringo ignorante de los Estados Unidos y no puedo hablar mucho en español. Y también el presidente Trump es un malevolent narcissist, etc.
Yeah, but it's not just him. He's a product of a culture. You know what I
mean? So that's tour prep, and then lighting, and then I mean, I'm not saying any of this is interesting or complicated, but it's like finding the great lighting person. In this case, Dan Hardiman, whose name is surprisingly close to the villain in the first season of Suits, Dan Hardman.
I know. When I first read that, I was like, get him out of here.
So Dan Hardiman, and then my friend JP is going to be doing sound, and our friend Alan is the tour manager, and Dermot and Dick and all these people I used to tour with, they're all coming on tour with me again. So there's a sort of reunion nostalgia aspect to it.
That's so fun. Can I ask one very important question? How do you pick your bus, and what is the bus situation there? And like, is everyone staying on the bus, or like, how is that going to work?
There'll be two buses. There's a crew bus and a band bus. I will be in the band bus because the crew has to arrive sometimes at different times, and they leave potentially later as well. Like being a crew member, it's a lot much harder work than being a musician.
Yeah.
So, but I have one rule for the tour bus. Well, it's vegan, obviously, but also no synthetic smells, because boy, do I hate synthetic smells. So like there's no perfume on the bus. There's no plug-in air fresheners. There's no Febreze.
Are people allowed to use their products for their...
Not on the bus. What they do elsewhere, that's up to them. But the bus is a scent-free zone.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So you're really on the bus with people. You're just in close quarters with other people. That must be a real adjustment for you.
I mean, in the past, the only downside to being on a tour bus is I don't sleep very well on tour buses.
But you also don't sleep well in hotels.
I don't sleep well anywhere. But tour buses, when I used to tour constantly, tour bus life, it's wonderful. Like it's very, like you're with your gang and you're going from place to place. And at its best, it's really sweet and nice. Like you watch Blades of Glory or you watch Talladega Nights for the 27th time. Everyone knows the words. Or you watch someone play a video game, or you read your magazine and you go to sleep when you feel like going to sleep, and you wake up and it's the same people, but magically you're in a different place.
Last time you toured, was there social media?
Last time I toured was 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, there was definitely, TikTok didn't exist.
Right.
Instagram probably was in its infancy and was just like photos of cats. Mm-hmm. So that's the world of tour prep. And does this, Lindsay, I ask you a question. Oh, Bagel snapping.
Oh, she's so sleepy.
Is this a good time to talk about the charities who are going to be receiving tour money?
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear about them.
Okay. Ready?
I'm so ready.
So maybe, Jonathan, if you want to add like a little sound effect of a drum roll, like Okay. So here are the charities, and there is a chance I will mispronounce some of them.
That's okay. Do your best.
They're all European-based. L214 in France. Assiettes Végétales, Assiettes Végétales, also in France. Gaia in Belgium. ProVeg, which actually spans a bunch of different countries, Germany and Belgium. Vegan Brussels. The Albert Schweitzer Organization, the Humane League UK, Plant-Based Universities, the Animal Law Foundation, Tier im Recht. Did I say that right? Maybe.
No clue.
Swiss Animal Protection, and Tier im Focus. And then lastly, there are two others. Earth Percent. And Earth Percent is a climate organization that was started by Brian Eno that you actually sort of introduced me to. And they are a group of scientists and advisors who advise, and they work with other climate organizations. And one of the reasons two reasons I want to work with them. One, Brian Eno is an inspiration and a hero to me, but also I'm hoping that my involvement with them will get them to look more closely at the role of meat and dairy production and climate change.
Yep. Food is often ignored, and I feel like it's great that you're trying to put their focus in that direction.
And so that's a lot of organizations splitting, unfortunately, what's not going to be a ton of money, hopefully enough to be meaningful, but those are the people receiving tour money. And hopefully I'll be able to continue to support them after the tour. But do you want to know what just happened earlier before you showed up?
What?
A very exciting, interesting thing.
What?
So in the course of my life, I've had crushes at a distance, oftentimes on people who are no longer alive. Like
Sylvia Plath.
Sylvia Plath being my ultimate crush. Like she's my dream woman. Still mad at Ted Hughes. And we can even segue into poetry from that.
Perfect.
But I got an email from arguably the most perfect woman who is currently alive.
Who?
My friend Jane Goodall.
Oh. What did she say?
So I've met Jane a few times. I had a good name-dropping brunch once with her and Leo DiCaprio, Leo's house. So Jane read about me giving the money from the tour to charity, and she emailed me to say, hey, if we'd love to be on the receiving end of this money. And I wrote back and said, well, I'm of course, I've supported the Jane Goodall Institute for a while, but so I just thought that was exciting that the most perfect woman on the planet reached out to me because she knew I was going on tour.
I mean, I would do anything for Jane Goodall.
Yep, me too, 100%, without hesitation.
A magical human.
Do you know one day? I don't know if I told you the story when I was having it's name.
You asked her on a date and she said no.
No, I did. I remember one time, completely unrelated. I met Joan Rivers. And I sort of fell in love with her, and I was like, you know what? Could I go on a date with her? She was like 40 years older than me, but still, she was just, I loved her.
Epic.
Okay, when I was having brunch with Leo and Jane, we're all on a first name basis, Jane pointedly asked Leo if he was a vegan.
And, what did he say?
And Leo was like, no, I'm a vegetarian. I'm primarily vegan because Leo's parents are vegan. And she got really stern. And she was like, you need to be a vegan. She was like, you're an environmentalist. You're a climate activist. You need to be vegan.
What did he say?
He was like, yeah, you're right. Like he was a little sheepish.
Oh my God. She totally cracked the whip on Leo. So damn.
And he, like every sane, rational human on the planet, he loves and reveres her.
Of course.
So I like to think that maybe she helped him on his vegan journey.
I really want to go back and look at his journal entry for that evening.
Yeah, had brunch with Moby and Jane Goodall. Jane is the most perfect woman. She told me I should be vegan, so I think she's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are all the charities who are receiving.
That's really exciting. I mean,
money.
It's great. It's great that you'll be giving them your proceeds, but it's also wonderful that we can talk about them and have these relationships with them and continue the conversation after the tour and figure out more ways that we can be involved with them and other charities in those regions.
And hopefully, they'll hopefully I mean, they're all invited to the shows, and maybe some of them might even set up information booths at the merchandise table.
That would be amazing.
Okay. Whew, we're just going through all sorts of things, aren't we?
Yeah, but now, because, we talked about Sylvia Plath, do you think that it would be nice to take a moment and pick out poems?
Sure.
Okay, great.
Mine is going to be really obvious, but it's also relevant. I hope. Well, I hope not.
Is it going to be a Walt Whitman?
It's not a Walt Whitman. I do appreciate the push for Walt Whitman. There's one part of Leaves of Grass that is really special. Like, Walt Whitman was obviously amazing. I especially love that there is a rest stop on the New Jersey Turnpike called the Walt Whitman rest stop. And I was like, normally rest stops are named after like sports guys and politicians. But I was like, you named a rest stop after a wonderful gay poet from the 19th century. Like, how sweet. Sort of like how the only sports team I have any interest in is the Baltimore Ravens because they're named after an Edgar Allan Poe poem.
They are?
Well, they're Baltimore. That's where Poe lived. And he had
Did you know that I'm related to Edgar Allan Poe?
You are? Wow, that's a cool one.
He's like my many great uncle.
That's a really cool one.
That's why I'm so dark.
Okay, so do you have a poem?
No, but I need for you. So I need for you to go ahead of me.
Okay, so one of my favorite Gnostics and poets and thinkers was William Butler Yeats.
Oh, I knew it was going to be Yeats.
Especially because his sort of like his mysticism was really interesting. Like, he was Irish and he wrote Irish stuff, and Ireland's a great place. Irish stuff is really nice. But some of his mysticism is really fascinating. I'd like to know, like, he was sort of in the world of like Golden Bough alchemy, and I've got a book of his about it that I haven't actually read. It's on my to-do list. But there's a poem of his, it's probably his most famous poem. It's called The Second Coming.
Oh yeah, we've talked about this one before.
And it is the most phenomenal, prescient, apocalyptic poem. And in fact, I've probably even read it on our show, but
I think you have. But let's do it again. I mean, you can't do it enough, I think.
So, and I might have also mentioned that Google searches for this poem went up 1,000% after Trump was elected the first time.
Oh.
Because this describes Trump.
Okay.
Okay, ready? I'll read it again. The Second Coming by William Butler Yeats. Turning and turning in the widening gyre. One thing we'll say, I still don't know what a gyre is.
Do you think it's like a wrap sandwich type of thing?
Like a hero?
Yeah.
Let's look it up. Okay, so I'm ruining it. Gyre. Oh, a swarm of ghosts. Oh, whirl or gyrate. So a gyre
is... A swarm of ghosts?
Like, that's the example they use. A swarm of ghosts gyred around him.
Oh, I see.
But a gyre is like whirling. Okay, so okay. I won't interrupt with asides. Sorry. Second Coming by William Butler Yeats. Turning and turning in the widening gyre. The falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming, hardly are those words out of my mouth when a vast image of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in the sands of the desert, a shape with a lion's body and the head of a man,
whoa,
a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again. But now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come around at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born?
Slouch toward Bethlehem. That's a thing.
It's also a Joan Didion story.
Oh, Didion. She would.
But isn't that the most powerful, phenomenal, apocalyptic
It's so
thing?
apocalyptic and scary.
And it's, yeah. Okay, that's my poem.
That's really, really bad and scary, but beautiful. And it makes me feel like I hate that like we had a president who inspired people wanting to read that horrific apocalyptic.
That horrifying apocalypse.
Like what a crazy moment in the history. Wah. Okay, full disclosure, I have spent this entire time trying to find a dirty limerick.
Of course you have.
But they're all too graphic.
Yeah.
Sadly, which just, I was really hoping that something would come up that was just a little bit more
PG-13.
Yeah. Well, there's one that's kind of PG-13. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, and we can always, if there's anything bad, we can just bleep it out.
Okay. Hugh Grant did this in a movie once, so I feel like I can do it here.
Okay.
Okay. You ready?
Just don't do it in a British accent because trust me.
I know. I'm sorry. Oh God, no, I have to do it.
Because in the interest of, because I care about you, I don't want you, as time passes, to go back and listen to yourself speaking in a fake British accent.
Okay, I'm just going to do it sheepishly.
Because you're so good at so many things, fake British accent. I say this with kindness and respect. It's not your strong suit.
You've never heard me really do it. I only have ever done my joking one.
Yeah.
I was classically trained.
Okay.
Okay.
Limerick.
There once was a woman from Ealing who
It's almost more apocalyptic than mine.
Who had a particular feeling.
Uh-oh.
She laid on her back and did something weird, because I don't want to say that. And she peed all over the ceiling.
Also, like Donald Trump when he visited the Park Hyatt in Russia.
PP video. Yeah. I've been waiting for PP video for 10 years.
I've been waiting for a lot of things. There's apparently an outtake of The Apprentice where he's on video using the horrifying N-word. But the weird guy who owns the tape won't release it. So frustrating.
Why? Because what's his name? The reality TV show guy.
Mark something.
Yeah.
Mark Burnett, is that his name?
Yes, Mark Burnett. That's correct.
Yeah, apparently, the word on the street is he's, for whatever reason, maybe he's a Trump supporter, maybe he doesn't want to incur the wrath of Trump supporters, he won't release this tape of Trump saying the N-word.
Something is happening recently, and I think I've sent you a couple of articles about how Hollywood is becoming increasingly, especially as the industry becomes a little less stable, a little bit moving to the other side of things in a very scary way. And I think that maybe they had been, but they weren't saying anything like Mark Burnett. But now they're kind of like...
Well, I'm going to go back to that Clash lyric of if Adolf Hitler flew in today, they'd send a limousine anyway. Like, people follow self-interest, and when everyone thought they were supposed to be woke and progressive, suddenly all these, people around the United States were suddenly pretending to be woke and progressive. And then suddenly they realized that wasn't making them money and the tide turned. So now they've dropped that like a hot potato. I mean,
and they're doing speeches at the RNC.
Yeah. And Silicon Valley, creepy, horrible Elon is giving $50 million a month to Trump's campaign. And now, but that's enabled all the people in Silicon Valley to be right-wing Trump supporters. It's like there are no principles. Everyone just sort of flies in the wind. Like if something's moving in one direction and people can benefit from that, that's the direction they go. It's disheartening, and is why I'm asking my Canadian friends to adopt me.
Yeah, it's just the whole thing is so awful. It's like they would rather the planet burn than be regulated. Anyway, speaking of,
are we going to go to self-care?
Yeah, because now I'm stressed and I need to just shake it out. So I'm wondering if we can let's talk about stress reduction, because politics are crazy, the world is crazy, people feel icky. And is there a way that we can kind of turn down the noise in the brain parts?
Luckily, there are so many ways to turn down the noise in the brain parts.
But they have to be easy, and it has to be things I'll remember when I'm stressed.
And to some extent, everybody is a little bit different. We've talked about this before, but in the course of my life, I've tried everything. Pharmacological, narcotic, alcohol, spiritual traditions, meditation, Muay Thai, kickboxing. Like if
fighting a pillow.
Yeah, if there is a way to try and reduce anxiety and stress, I've tried it.
Okay.
From TM to Zen meditation to Vipassana to all sorts of different. I've tried everything, and my approach, first off, is like, what's the easiest way in the moment to reduce stress? Because on one hand, a lot of traditions involve aspiring towards enlightenment. You'll achieve stress reduction after 15 years of meditating. Or like when you do this for 20 minutes 3 times a day, then you'll begin to achieve stress reduction. I'm like, well, it's not really very helpful. What can do it? What can, at least for me, alleviate and relieve stress right now in the short term? And for me, it's the simplest things. There's cognitive stuff, and then there's behavioral stuff. Behavioral stuff, go for a walk. I go for a walk in nature, and within 5 minutes, my stress has basically evaporated. Because I look at nature and I'm reminded that nature is bigger and better and more complicated and more nuanced than we are. And it just puts my problems in perspective. Another, listen to music. When I've worked with the Institute for Music and Neurologic Function, I realized music is very legitimate. It's a very legitimate tool for stress reduction. And we all know that, but we don't fully trust it because it's free and it's fun. And we're like, well, if it's free and fun, it can't be good for me. It's like, no, but it really is. And then an exercise, put on some old punk rock records and lift weights and punch a heavy bag. That is great stress reduction. Play drums, all those things. And then I'll call it like the cognitive side, which doesn't involve action, like physical action, which is for me, it's mindfulness. Like literally, what are my senses telling me? Where am I? What can I see, smell, taste, touch? Like what's really going on? Not what's going on in my brain, but what's actually going on around me. That's a really good way to have stress reduction. And to contextualize it a little bit and remember 2 things. One, stress passes. For you, for Bagel, for me, for everyone watching and listening, we've all had intense periods of stress. It always ends. And just remembering, like the jealousy, the anger, the anxiety, the terror, all these things, they all go away. Even if it seems like they're not going to go away, they do. So there's lots more, but those are the biggies for me. And also I try to avoid harmful forms of stress reduction. Like for me,
like slapping yourself in the noggin.
Like hitting myself in the head with a ball peen hammer, as satisfying.
Ball peen?
Ball peen hammer.
What's that?
It's a type of hammer.
Rubber?
No, metal. You wouldn't really want to hit yourself you wouldn't want to hit yourself or anyone else with a ball peen hammer.
Or any hammer.
Yeah. I think it's got like a rounded little hammer part.
Oh, that hammer.
Yeah. For hitting balls, peens. It sounds terrible now.
Yeah, it's gross.
Ball peen. Ew.
That's disgusting.
Why did it take me all this time to realize that that's just like a terrible, terrible name? Okay, so regular hammer. But no, like we all know the bad things that we try to do for stress reduction, like
drinking, yelling at people.
Yeah, going on social media and posting terrible comments about something. eating fried food.
Hey.
Sorry. But there's nothing wrong with that. But I know for myself, there are things I can do that are stress reduction that actually end up hurting me and long-term not reducing stress. And I'd love to sit down, oh boy, like if I'm stressed and sad and anxious, to like have a bunch of vegan onion rings and a chocolate bar. Oh, it sounds great. But I know when it's done, I'm actually going to feel worse.
Yeah, true. That's
but I do love vegan onion rings.
Understanding consequences, and a lot of people don't consider consequences for anything.
So that's my spiel about what I try to do for stress reduction.
I really like those things. Taking a walk is always, because usually when I'm stressed, it means there's a bunch of stuff I have to do, and taking a break from it feels like the most terrifying thing. But just getting up and walking and being like, I'll actually be in a better space to do this work if I can just take a deep breath. But one thing that really helps me with stress reduction, and it's hard for me to sleep when I'm stressed, is doing everything I can to create a space for good sleep hygiene. Not staying up too late, not looking at my phone before bed, which is really hard. What? Do you do that?
Oh, I check text, but I have great social media discipline, weirdly. I get 10 minutes a day, that's it. So
10 minutes is so very little. I mean, I have I think 2 hours a day I let myself have. And I pound through that 2 hours. But then I have an app that locks me out of it, so I literally can't do anything more than that. But yeah, it's if when I get stressed, I start losing sleep, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse, and it, But for me, that's the biggest thing, is just getting enough sleep and getting enough food that's good food.
Yeah, I mean, we all sort of know what to do. It's just the ability and the willingness to do it. And also to recognize that the things that sometimes seem frivolous are not. Going for a walk, petting Bagel, eating a delicious orange. These are really healthy, remarkable healing modalities that we tend to discount because they're free.
Do you want to know something I just started doing for stress that's actually been really helpful?
Going to the supermarket and screaming at strangers in the parking lot.
No, because I don't really like to scream.
Okay.
But I do go buy flowers sometimes when I'm sad. But here's something that I have been doing is sometimes I'll cry just a tiny little bit. Just a tiny little bit of crying really sets me on the right path.
Yeah.
Just got to release a little bit. You know what I mean? Some people like to punch a pillow, but I just like to have just a tiny little bit of cry, and then I'm good. And then we go. You know what I mean?
I do wonder, my female friends seem to have easier access to crying.
It's not easy.
Okay.
It's terrifying.
And I don't mean, I'm almost hesitant to say that. I'm just saying, based on my conversations, maybe men cry just as much, but just don't talk about it because they're ashamed.
And they want to be tough.
So I'm going to work under that assumption that men and women cry an equal amount, but that men, their tears are hidden and bitter, as opposed to women who are obviously like an advanced gender who are able to access emotion more easily than us broken, shut down men.
Well, in a broad sense, perhaps that's true. But I couldn't for a long time. I wouldn't do that. I was afraid that if I opened up that box, I would never be able to close it.
Pandora's tissue box?
Yes, exactly. And I'm having to have that, I can release a little bit of emotion if I need to release a little bit of emotion, and be able to still function and not let it take over everything. I was afraid it would take over everything for a long time.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing that's happening. It's great.
Just a little bit of crying.
A little bit of crying. Bagel loves it.
Oh, does she really? Or does it scare her?
No, she likes it because she's like, what's going on? And she wants to connect, and she loves to connect.
Bagel. She's sleeping.
I know. She's very tired.
Okay, so that's our we haven't done one of these episodes in quite a while.
No, we haven't. It's nice to just chat.
Yeah. And we had our long list of things, and just a quick recap. We're going to be on break for the next few weeks making the movie called Tecie. And what Tecie stands for, it's an acronym, at some point will be revealed.
When you least expect it.
Or perhaps when you watch the movie.
Yeah. So we're going to take a break. We're going to make our movie. We'll be back soon. And then Moby will go on tour. And it's a big summer/fall for Mobyland.
And when we come back, there's a good chance that the first 2 episodes when we come back will be from our live Moby Pod acoustic play nights at the Hollywood Forever Masonic Temple.
It could happen, or maybe it'll be something else. That's the fun thing about Moby Pod, is that you just never know what you're going to get.
And we don't even know because, well, I'm just going to speak for myself because I'm a distracted incompetent. So I never know.
No, you're not. Come on. Maybe distracted, but definitely not incompetent.
So on that note, having covered a lot of ground, we're going to say goodbye for a couple weeks. We want to say thank you to Mike Formanski.
Mike Formanski, who's doing this video, recording and also editing.
Thanks to Jonathan Nesvadba for playing bass and also editing the audio. Thanks to Human Content for taking the audio and putting it out into the world. And most importantly,
thank you to Bagel, who is the Chief Creative Officer of all that we do and is the most grounding and perfect individual ever created.
Yeah, she is our spiritual life coach in all things. Right, Bagel?
Thank you guys so much for listening or watching or whatever you do, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
And there's a possibility we'll even see some people while we're making the movie, because some people might be extras. Who knows?
Who knows?
Yep, anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
But more likely, we will talk to you and see you in a few weeks.
Yep.
Okay, bye.
Bye.